Shocking truth, the McGuire Air Force Base incident revealed at 3 a.m. what they tried to hide. The clock struck 3, and the air crackled with a tension only the darkest secrets could summon. McGuire Air Force Base lay in eerie silence, shrouded in mist like a ghostly reminder of unexplained happenings. A chill swept through the empty streets, whispering tales of odd occurrences that defied explanation. What had happened here? Why was there a veil of secrecy heavy as fog hanging over this military stronghold? Shadows danced under the dim glow of the streetlights, twisting shapes that could easily play tricks on the mind, but this was no ordinary night. Local legend had it that strange lights flickered above the base like fireflies in a frenzy. Soldiers, once stoic, were now shaken, eyes wide with something unnameable. They spoke in hushed tones, their words tangled in panic stories of incomprehensible objects darting across the sky, their movements too sharp, too deliberate. And just 2 weeks before, there was that bizarre noise, described by some as a low hum that induced an unsettling mix of curiosity and dread. What created it? What had they witnessed? As curiosity grew within the community, the rumors blossomed, spreading like wildfire. Last week, during a midnight watch, one soldier claimed to have seen a creature pale, glimmering, creeping along the perimeter fence, only to vanish into thin air when approached. What was so worthy of hiding that it sparked fear in the heart of one of the country's proudest defenses? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension hung thicker as onlookers gathered, their eyes glimmering with a mix of excitement and fear. What if they're hiding something dark? One woman murmured, biting her lip, as her voice trembled with anticipation. What if? Her words trailed off, leaving a haunting silence that wrapped around the crowd. In the days that followed, there was a palpable sense of urgency among the townsfolk. Everyone wanted answers, yet the military sent nothing but silence back. What were they covering up? Were these incidents part of a greater conspiracy? As the night deepened, filled with whispers of dread and wonder, a car engine revved in the distance. The ground shook slightly under the vibrations. Eyes darted toward the base's entrance, heartbeats quickening, shadows flitted past the floodlights. Someone was approaching. Who would dare invigilate what the military wished to keep hidden? And that night, as uncertainty loomed large overhead, a piercing scream shattered the silence. What had truly occurred at McGuire Air Force Base? What other secrets lay buried beneath the surface? The scream reverberated through the night like a jagged knife, slicing the tension that had blanketed the air. Eyes widened, breaths caught, and panic rippled through the gathered crowd. They all turned toward the sound, a collective gasp spilling out as they moved closer to the base entrance, where shadows began to pulse with life. What was that? Someone whispered, hardly daring to break the heavy silence. A figure emerged at the right edge of the entrance, stumbling but determined. It was a soldier, skin pale and eyes wild with terror. His uniform was dirted, stained with something dark that glistened ominously under the flickering lights. "It's real!" he shouted, his voice cracking with palpable fear. "It's all real!" The crowd surged forward, drawn to him like moths to a flame, desperation mingling with dread as they sought answers they weren't sure they wanted to hear. "What did you see?" demanded an elderly man, his face drawn tight with worry. "A creature like nothing you've ever seen." The soldier was breathing heavily, his gaze darting back towards the base. "We thought it was a drill. Just a regular night watch until the lights appeared." The crowd surged closer, caught up in his growing hysteria. "Lights? What kind of lights?" a woman shouted, her voice rising above the murmur. Bright. Blinding. They hovered above the northeast sector. I thought I was losing my mind. Then his voice wavered, chasing lost thoughts like shadows. It appeared. Pale and thin. Eyes like burning coals. It watched us, I'm sure of it. When it moved, it was impossible. Like it didn't belong here. With every word, the atmosphere thickened, a tangle of fear and wonder rising like smoke. Who or what was this being that sent a seasoned soldier to the brink? The crowd's unease swirled as they exchanged nervous glances, unspoken questions hanging like a noose between them. Where is it now? A skeptical voice called out from the back. You're pulling our leg, aren't you? No. The soldier took a step toward the skeptics, desperation etched on his face. I put myself in the line of fire. You don't know the nightmares I've lived through. We need to warn everyone. They want us silent. The buzzing of cell phones interrupted the charged atmosphere, illuminating faces bathed in a ghostly glow. People pulled away to record the chaos, capturing the soldier's dangerously captivating words. Everyone felt it, the vibration of fear, reality unraveling into the inexplicable. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the soldier stopped, his eyes widening in sheer terror. He turned, his gaze fixated beyond the crowd. It's coming. And then darkness fell like an avalanche. The lights flickered and went out, plunging the base into a shadowy void. Gasps erupted from the crowd, panic igniting like an ember in dry kindling. The soldier, trembling, seemed to gather the last of his courage. Run! Get out of here! He shouted, his voice a desperate plea, but before anyone could move, a piercing noise filled the air, that same low hum described by many before. The sound vibrated through their chests, resonating with something primal and ancient. What is that? Someone shrieked, grasping their neighbors tightly. Out of the darkness, a bright glow emerged from the base's heart, illuminating everything and casting long, distorted shadows that lunged and moved unpredictably. Something's happening. The crowd stumbled backward, a collective retreat as fear took hold. What was it? Was it the creature? Or something worse, lurking unseen within the base's depths? With hearts pounding in their chests, they were trapped between curiosity and terror. As the glowing light intensified, shapes began to emerge within it, something human, yet unmistakably not. The crowd didn't just watch, they were frozen, tongues tied by a horror too great to grasp. But in that moment of chaos, something shifted. Guards emerged, shouting commands, their voices hoarse yet commanding. Get back. Evacuate the area. Yet behind them, in the brightness of that strange radiance, the glimmers of something otherworldly began to take form. What were the military trying to conceal? What lay waiting just a breath away? As the crowd burst into frenzied motion, an ear-piercing scream echoed again, but this time, it didn't come from the soldier. What else had they awakened at McGuire Air Force Base? The bright glow exploded, spilling light across the terrified faces of the gathered crowd. Shadows twisted beneath it, dancing with unnatural life as breathing became shallow and hearts raced. Murmurs choked back cries, a cacophony of panic, and the soldier's frantic orders barely pierced the thick tension. Move! The guards shouted again, wading into the chaos, attempting to herd the crowd away from the entrance. But people were frozen, paralyzed by confusion and dread. Don't just stand there. Then, from the edge of that glowing sphere, something began to step forward, long and lean, with limbs that stretched unnaturally. The crowd gasped collectively, some instinctively shoving backward. The creature had a face, pale and eerily human, but its eyes burned like hot coals, glaring into the crowd's core. What is it? Someone whispered, terror lighting their voice. Before anyone could answer, the soldier, who had first emerged trembling, fell to his knees, mouth gaping in horror. No, not again, he stammered, clutching his head. It was clear he was not just afraid, he was reliving something worse. The creature seemed to notice, or perhaps respond, to him, its gaze flickering with an intelligence that announced its terrifying presence. As it approached, the humming deepened, vibrating in their bones, sending shockwaves of dread rippling through the crowd. The soldier's eyes locked onto the creature. He began to shake, tears spilling down his cheeks. The elderly man's voice rose above the swells of panic, "We need to leave. Now." But just as the words spilled out, the ground beneath them trembled like an earthquake. An unseen force pushed against their chests, an oppressive weight that pulled them toward the entrance of the base. Some stumbled, teetering on the brink of utter chaos. People turned on one another, rushing every direction in frenzied desperation. "What is happening?" a woman screamed, shoving her way through the crowd. The soldier's shaky voice soared above the din, "Don't look into its eyes. It can control you." But the creature moved closer, gliding with an unsettling grace. Its eyes flickered across the faces of the terrified, each gaze a spark igniting primal instincts, coaxing out the deepest fears and darkest memories. Suddenly, a piercing wail split the air again, a sound not of fear but of something more damning, something hungry. People clutched their ears, cringing, feeling as if the wail was a part of them now. In that moment, the ground beneath them cracked open, a deep rift appearing, spilling shadows that clawed at the light. "Get back!" a guard bellowed, but it was too late. The crowd's instinct to flee transformed into chaos. Bodies pressed together as they stumbled toward the exit, brushing against one another, breathing in fear and confusion. In the very core of that chaos, the soldier looked back, one last trembling glance as the creature howled, the sound piercing through the mass of bodies like a knife. "You have to run, don't let it take you." As the remaining crowd thundered toward the exit, the soldier turned his back to the alien presence, stepping into the abyss of darkness beyond the gate. But as he did, the lights flickered, illuminating the ground just enough to reveal sinister shapes crawling from the shadows, emerging alongside the light that held them captive. One by one, those strange figures tethered to the light began to turn their heads, revealing hollow sockets instead of eyes, and everyone felt it, the collective dread binding them tighter than ever. What else had they truly joined in awakening at McGuire? As the last echoes of the wail faded into silence, one question consumed every heart. Would they escape what they had unleashed, or had they just become part of something far darker? The air felt alive with electricity, charged with a tension so thick it nearly suffocated. Shadows stretched and contorted, slipping like whispers into dark corners as if they were hunting for something. The crowd surged forward, desperate to escape the cavernous maw of the base, feet pounding against the concrete, leaving behind an echo of fear. The soldier, still on his knees, caught an incredulous glimpse of the creature and those with hollow sockets. His body trembled, rooted by memory, the horror clawing at him, the very same terror that now gripped everyone around him. "Don't stop!" he yelled, urgency cracking through his voice. He pushed himself up, fighting the pounding ache in his chest. As he turned, he caught sight of a small child nestled against a woman's leg, eyes wide with fear. "Mommy!" the child cried, as a tight grip of panic clenched around her tiny throat. "Stay close!" the woman shouted, glancing around frantically. But the deepening groan of the earth only intensified, the cracks now widening, exhaling tendrils of darkness that danced near their feet. A nearby soldier barked commands, "Form a line. Pull them back." But it was futile, their unity shredding into panic. The creature's haunting eyes bore down upon them, siphoning clarity from their minds, snatching away plans as easily as it pierced their hearts. "Why won't they just go?" someone screamed, panic exploding. Amidst the turmoil, the elderly man's voice cut through the rising chaos, steadier now. "This isn't just a creature, it's a catalyst. It awakens what lies beneath." His words soared, igniting curiosity even amid fear. "What do you mean?" someone shouted back, their voice trembling. He struggled to explain, "It feeds on our memories, our pain, it'll turn us, twist us into its servants." The truth ripped through the crowd, a poisonous seed planted, fear cycling back into them, more potent than before. "Let us get to the vehicles." A soldier yelled, urging the flow of bodies toward the parking lot. But as they stumbled onward, the ground shook violently, sending waves of tremors up their legs and through their core. What was mere chaos morphed into horror as the creature's wail crescendoed, sharpening into a piercing shriek. A deafening sound that felt like it sliced through flesh and bone. People fell, tripping over one another in their desperate bid to flee. In that chaos, a sudden brightness lit the shadows. An opening appeared above, a rift, a doorway flickering with unnatural energy. And within it, figures emerged, shapes shrouded in the swirling mist that spun out of control. The soldier who had warned them turned back, determination mixed with desperation, eyes wide with realization. They're coming. It's not just one, there are more. A collective gasp slipped through the throng. Where was safety? Escape? As urgent feet trampled each other, the child's voice rang out again, "Mommy." In a heartbeat, the woman grabbed her child, but the weight of the invisible force tugged harder, dragging them back toward the rift that pulsed with a terrifying invitation. "Hold on." The soldier cried out, reaching for the nearest hand, pulling desperately as the darkness slithered closer. That's when the creature lunged forward, its pale form gliding with unnatural speed. It loomed over them, its coals burning brighter, illuminating the panic-stricken faces. Panic morphed into sheer terror, sparks flying as whispers of ancient fear bound them together. Would they succumb to the darkness? Or could they break free and discover the truth behind what had been awakened? But in a sudden flash, the creature paused, its attention shifting as if sensing something else, something beneath the collective dread. "Run!" The soldier screamed again, but one question lingered in everyone's heart: what lay beyond that rift, twisting in the shadows, waiting for them to cross? As they stumbled toward uncertain safety, the specter of betrayal crept in. Had they really come to McGuire for protection, or were they merely pawns in a much darker game? The ground continued to quake beneath their feet, each tremor a reminder of the horror building beneath them. As the creature paused, the air thickened with imminent doom, only to be shattered by the soldier's piercing cry. "Move, now!" Everyone scrambled, hearts racing, feet slipping on the concrete slick with fear. The woman clutched her child tightly, feeling the warmth of their little body against her, a fragile life tethered to her own. Their breath came in frantic gasps as they tore toward the flickering light ahead, desperately seeking salvation. Panic ran rampant, twisting the crowd into a chaotic mass. This wasn't just flight, it was a stampede of pure instinct. Faces twisted in terror caught brief glimpses of each other, eyes reflecting back a shared horror that threatened to consume them all. Somewhere behind, the creature's haunting wails morphed into a growl that rippled through the throng, causing bodies to stumble, to falter, and to fall. A soldier at the forefront struggled with a knot of sweat trailing down his temple, barking orders in vain. "Keep moving. Don't look away." But in the dizzying chaos, dread pulled tight on every soul's heart. They could feel it, the creature gathering momentum, swirling like a storm, its form undulating behind them. At that moment, the rift pulsed, its unnatural glow bathing them in a blinding haze. Figures emerged from the mist, shrouded silhouettes slicing through the darkness like shadows birthed from nightmares. "Is this the end?" A voice from the crowd quavered, shaking with uncertainty and dread. Fear was a tangible thing, stifling and heavy. "Trust me. We have to reach the light." The soldier shouted, a wild glint of determination igniting against the shadows. He reached for the woman and her child, pulling them along the way, while horrific thoughts wormed a path through his mind. What if this wasn't an escape? What if beyond the rift was something worse? A collective scream pierced the air as someone tripped and fell, pulling others down in their wake. The soldier's heart raced. He could see the edges of the rift widening, a beckoning void inviting the masses to step through. What waited beyond that threshold? Was it freedom or a descent into a deeper nightmare? With every ounce of strength, he pulled the woman, the child, and a handful of others closer, but behind them, the creature surged, not just one now, but a swarm of pale forms, eyes simultaneously gleaming with malice and a hunger that seemed to tear into the fabric of reality. The whispers coiled around the group, promising salvation while hinting at betrayal. Then, a chilling realization struck. The soldiers, he murmured as breath caught in his throat. They weren't all retreating. Some lingered, eyes glazed and entranced by the rift, as if they had found clarity in chaos. The soldier's heart sank. They're turning. Run! He yelled again, the urgency in his voice threading through the air like a warning. They rushed forward, feet pounding against the pavement in a desperate rhythm, a thunderous symphony fueled by fear. The child squeezed her mother's hand tighter, tears mingling with the dirt on her cheeks. What are they doing? Someone gasped behind them, horror rising again as soldiers began effortlessly gliding toward the rift, drawn by an unseen force. The soldier glanced back just in time to see one of their own, eyes dark and hollow, merge with the pulse of the rift. This is a betrayal, he murmured, realizing the implications had stretched beyond their immediate escape. Were they meant to be sacrifices? Pieces in a greater game orchestrated by unseen hands? As they neared the rift, he could feel the shift in the energy around him, a cold pinprick of dread slicing through the palpable fear. Stay close! He shouted, pulling the child against him. But dread tugged at the edges of his resolve. What was on the other side? Would they trade one nightmare for another? Just as they were about to touch the edge of the light, a rumble echoed, and the ground beneath them quaked with more ferocity. Would escaping the creature lead them to an even darker fate? Then, as if timed with the tremors, figures stepped out of the rift, familiar faces reflecting an eerie calm, earning a collective gasp from the crowd. Why are they here? Someone whimpered, the disbelief freezing the adrenaline coursing through the soldier's veins. The truth lay just out of reach, and it loomed over them, heavy and dark. What had they truly awakened? And as the soldier glanced toward the faces emerging from the unknown, he couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest struggle was just beginning. In the moment of uncertainty, the world seemed to hold its breath. The familiar faces stepping out of the rift were met with a mix of hope and horror. Soldiers, but not just any soldiers, their faces were etched with a serenity that felt deeply unsettling. As if they had crossed over to a hidden world, their eyes were glazed, reflecting nothing of the terror that consumed the remaining crowd. Why are they here? The question hung in the air like a heavy fog, unanswered. The soldier gripped the woman's arm tighter, his instincts screaming at him to keep moving. He turned to push them forward just as one of the familiar figures raised a hand, palm open, fingers spreading in a gesture that could be interpreted as either calming or menacing. Come join us, the voice was soft, almost hypnotic. It's safe now. You can understand. Heart pounding, the soldier shook his head, a primal instinct to protect welling within him. Don't listen. He shouted, his voice raw and filled with desperation. The crowd seemed caught in an invisible tug-of-war, some resisting, some inching closer, mesmerized. He tugged the woman and child, urging them away from the rift. We have to keep moving. This isn't right. But as they retreated, the creature behind them erupted with a wail that sent shockwaves of fear through the thrumming crowd. It had grown larger, darker, its form now a mass of swirling chaos, limbs stretching unnaturally as if reaching for the warmth of their flesh. A surge of terror pushed the throng back toward the rift, where familiarity promised safety while danger lurked just beyond. Look! A voice cried out, pointing toward the rift. The soldier turned and saw that several figures had begun to kneel, bowing their heads, eyes still fixed on that otherworldly glow. Were they praying? Or had they surrendered to whatever darkness awaited them? The soldier's breath turned ragged. Fight it! He yelled, desperation bleeding into his voice. But his words faded against the relentless wailing of the creature and the enticement of the rift. Suddenly, the ground shook again, causing him to stumble. The soldier steadied himself just as the woman screamed a jarring sound that pierced his heart. She dropped to her knees, the child tumbling from her grasp, wide-eyed and terrified. In that moment, time felt suspended, like the calm before a storm. Mommy! The child called, reaching for her. The soldier's heart lurched. He dashed forward, but the woman was already half-turned, entranced by the rift. Fear constricted around him tighter than a vice. "Stay away from it!" he roared, but a wave of something cold and dark rushed over him, pouring out from the rift like a thick fog, chilling him to his core. The realm of nightmares tugged at his consciousness, making his limbs heavy and his throat tight. "Will you join us?" a voice drifted from the rift. The soldiers stepped forward, their faces now illuminated in the eerie light. They stood as guardians, enshrined by the glow, casting shadows that danced like specters on the pavement. Panic squeezed the soldier again. He grabbed the child, pulling her back as he fought against the haze creeping into his mind. "Not like this, we can't," he shouted. Tears streamed down the woman's face, struggling against a force stronger than her will. A rumble echoed from deep within the earth, followed by a series of violent quakes. The creature shrieked in pain, and the soldier recognized it, the wild cacophony of despair. Suddenly, the familiar soldiers turned, their eyes locking onto him with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. "You have a choice," their chorus rang out, seducing and sinister. What choice? He felt his heart thrum louder, the weight of fate pressing upon him. Would he brave the rift for the unknown, or would he flee into the darkness behind him? Then came a shattering sound. The world around them cracked, reality bending in on itself. The soldier could see now, clearer than ever. The ground ruptured, a crack snapping open, revealing a glimpse of what lurked beneath. "Run!" he screamed, gathering the little girl in his arms, but it felt too late. The tendrils of darkness rolled out, grasping, clawing. As the line between chaos and clarity blurred, one thing remained piercingly clear: the soldier had to make his choice, and fast, or risk being swallowed whole. What lay behind the rift? Would the soldiers lead them to salvation or to a new horror? The truth was about to unravel, revealing a twisted fate they could never anticipate. The ground shuddered violently beneath the soldier's feet, the ruptured earth belching sounds like angry growls. He could feel the temperature drop, the breath of the abyss slithering across his skin, sending icy tendrils of fear down his spine. He was losing them. His grip on the woman and child was slipping, mere moments sliding through his fingers like sand in an hourglass. The child's wail pierced the uncanny atmosphere, an innocent sound clashing with the horror surrounding them. Despair filled the soldier's chest. "Hold on tight." He shifted the girl higher, balancing her weight, parting the dark veil that threatened to drown them all. He glanced back, heart pounding, expecting to see the woman snapping out of her trance, but she was still enraptured by the rift's glow. "You can understand," echoed in his mind like a cruel chant. The soft inviting tone tugged at something deep within her, something that had long been buried. "Mommy." The child's voice was frantic now, shaky and full of helplessness. The soldier turned back, and for the briefest moment, he saw the struggle in her eyes, a flicker of recognition. But it was quickly overtaken by that glazed look as the soldiers began to step forward, somehow more menacing than benign. "Join us," they whispered, each word curling through the air like smoke, snaking around him and trying to choke his will. The soldier could see it now, each familiar face twisted by an unseen puppet master, strings pulling them closer to the rift while they became blind to anything but the radiant light. "Fight it. Please," he cried, his heart battered by desperation. But in the midst of his pleas, the ground cracked wider, and the screeching wail of the creature transformed into an unholy roar, drowning out his voice. It was a sound that clawed at the edges of sanity, promising only destruction and despair. "Run!" the soldier shouted again, instinct propelling him forward. He pivoted, dragging the girl behind him, but his feet were heavy with looming dread. The darkness behind them swirled, tendrils reaching, grasping for anything, as if the very ground was alive and hungering. Navigating through the throngs of people on the fraying edge of reality, he could see faces drawn in panic or rapture, vacillating between the two extremes. A quick glance back revealed the woman faltering, torn between the tug of her child and the call of the rift. "Mommy!" the girl screamed, reaching out again, pure desperation spilling from her small frame. No. The soldier wheeled around, instinctively shielding the child with his body. He wasn't ready to lose anyone, not now, not ever. The rift shimmered, pulling at him like a magnet, calling forth secrets he felt he had no right to uncover. The familiar soldiers closed in, their illuminated forms a relentless force against the battered remnants of humanity. Your choice is easy, they chimed, their voices harmonizing into a grotesque lullaby. Join us, escape the pain. The soldier's resolve cracked under the weight of their hypnotic invitation. Just as he was about to break free from it all, the woman lunged forward, her hand outstretched toward the radiant pull. Time stopped for him. No! He roared, but his voice echoed into a void, lost among the chaos. Suddenly, a hand grasped his shoulder, hot and firm. He swung around, ready to defend himself, but was met with a stranger's piercing gaze, eyes wide and filled with frantic clarity. The rift doesn't offer safety. They are not who you think. The soldier's heart rattled painfully in his chest as the implications settled in. Who was this person? What truth about the rift had been hidden away? Once again, the ground shuddered violently, and the soldier felt the rift pulse like a living thing, pushing them closer to a decision that could change everything. As the shadows closed in, he was faced with a harrowing question: would he trust the stranger and their warning? Or would he allow the familiar faces to lure him into their waiting doom? The darkness danced closer, and within its embrace lay secrets meant to destroy him. As the soldier gripped the girl tighter, the moment of reckoning loomed just ahead. What would he choose to believe? The soldier's eyes darted between the rift and the stranger, both pulling at him like gravitational forces. The air crackled with tension, and it felt as if the world were holding its breath, just waiting for a decision that might shatter everything. Please. The stranger urged, voice strained. Every moment we stand here, we lose ourselves to its influence. If they nodded toward the woman, still entranced crosses that threshold, she may never return. The soldier's stomach churned at the thought. He could still hear the child's desperate cries echoing around them, threading their way into the back of his mind, reminding him of everything he stood to lose. His grip tightened on the girl, feeling her quaking small body press against him. Mommy. The little girl's voice dripped with fear. Mommy. Come back. But the woman was drifting, her eyes locked on the golden light that pulsed and shimmered like some ancient siren's call. It was soothing, beckoning, promising. No. He shouted, desperation boiling into anger. She's here. You are here. You have to fight. The ranks of familiar soldiers swelled, faces swelling with hunger and false hope. It's a place without pain, they sang in distorted tones. Join us, be with us, feel. The soldier could feel the pull, like a weight resting in his chest, telling him it would be easy to give in. But as he dug his heels into the trembling ground, he caught a glimpse of the stranger's face, an expression of grim urgency. Trust me. The stranger insisted, stepping closer against the rising tide of darkness. Listen to your heart. If not for you, then for her. It struck him. The weight in his chest felt heavier than just the call of the rift, it was laced with love, with protection, with responsibility. He thought of the little girl, innocent and mirroring the very essence of hope. It lit a fire inside him, pushing back against the dread that wrapped around his soul. Mom. The little girl's voice pierced through the haze of whispers, breaking his resolve. He turned back to the woman, pleading. Please, remember us. He shouted as loud as he could, voice strained. Fight. We're here. Come back to me. For a moment, the woman's eyes flickered, wrestling against the soft glow of the call. Something deep within her began to react, the connection to her child pulling her free from the rift's grip. Mommy. The child urged. Help us. The stranger added, desperation creeping into their tone. As the ground tremored beneath their feet, the rift seemed to pulse fiercely, as if it sensed the shift. The soldier felt the air grow heavier, charged with unseen forces combating their will. In that moment, time felt elastic, stretching between the soldier's loud pleading and the flickering light of resolve in the woman's eyes. There was a standoff, a magnetic pull of love against the insidious call of the rift. The balance hung perilously in the balance. "Please!" he cried above the chaos, and he stepped closer, almost magnetic himself. "Come back. We need you." But the presence of the stranger, the unyielding gaze of those warped soldiers, and the relentless darkness clawing at him were relentless. They threatened to drown out his voice. Suddenly, an unnatural wave crashed against them. The ground split open, tendrils of darkness reaching out like clammy hands, grasping, pulling, relentless. "No!" He felt raw panic, but as he yanked the girl close and steadied himself, his courage surged. He charged at the woman, desperate but determined. "Come back. Come back to us." He reached for her just as the chaos surged around them, promising something that felt as comforting as it was deadly, and in the chaos of swirling faces, voices, and light, the moment hung. Would she turn back? Would they all be consumed by what waited behind the rift's veil? Then, with a final terrifying roar from the depths, a surge of sound overwhelmed them, something ancient that transcended comprehension. "Whoa!" The stranger gasped, eyes wide as they fended off the shadows. Something, or someone, was emerging, and as the dust settled, the fear was palpable. The truth about the rift could unravel in ways they weren't yet prepared to face. What awaited? Would it be salvation or doom? The rift's throbbing light now danced with shadows of fear, promising revelations that could change everything. Time hung in eagerness, but the soldier braced for what might come next. The air shifted with a palpable charge as the ground quaked, the roiling darkness clawing at their legs. The soldier's heart raced, the sound of the rift throbbing like a war drum in his ears. "Stand firm!" he shouted, gripping the girl tighter. The warmth of her small body grounded him as the world around them warped and twisted. The moment of silence shattered, replaced by an explosive surge as a figure emerged from the chaos. The soldier squinted through the haze, an intense flash of blinding light intensifying around them. It took shape, a person, maybe, or a distorted reflection of what had once been. "It's coming!" The stranger screamed, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror, pulling the soldier's attention from the woman. "Get behind me!" he commanded, instinctively shielding the child with his body as they all took a hesitant step back. The rift churned violently, shadows spilling forth from its depths, swirling with malicious intent. The figure stepped into the light, revealing unmistakable features, but the same familiar face wore an expression twisted by despair. The soldier's breath caught in his throat as recognition flooded him. "Jonathan?" he murmured, shocked. The face of his long-lost comrade from the old unit, the one believed to be gone forever, stared back with hollow eyes, pleading for release. "This isn't what it seems." Jonathan's voice echoed, distorted by the throbbing resonance of the rift. "You don't understand this place. It takes what it needs. It feeds off our fear. You have to break free. Don't listen to it." The stranger shouted, shaking their head violently. "It's a trap. It will twist your mind." But the soldier's heart sank at Jonathan's revealed truth. Memories flooded back, shared battles, the brotherhood, and ultimately, the grief when he vanished. "Help me." Jonathan's gaze locked onto the soldier's, desperation mingling with the broken hope in his eyes. I can't hold on much longer." "No." The soldier shouted, igniting a sense of urgency. "You can fight this. You're stronger than this." But it was not just Jonathan emerging from the rift. No, it seemed to take shape behind him, a swirling mass of faces. Friends, loved ones, all from long ago, each illuminated by the same golden glow, each beckoning with tortured expressions, their voices rising in a cacophony of desperate pleas. "Come back," they chorused, hauntingly beautiful yet utterly terrifying. "Join us, Mommy." The little girl whimpered, buried tightly against her father's side, her small hands trembling. Another roar from the rift sent a palpable shiver through the immense force. Shadows streamed out like smoke, hungry and restless, threatening to engulf everything. The soldier felt the warmth of the girl quivering against him. It ignited a fresh surge of protective instinct. "Get back. Stay behind me." He gritted his teeth, embodying every ounce of strength he had left. "Fight for her," the stranger shouted, breaking through the din of fractured voices and blinding light. "Don't let them take your hope." As the faces surged closer, their whispers igniting a darkness within, the soldier felt his resolve shake. But then he remembered the girl's innocent gaze, the truth that sparked inside him a love worth all the darkness in the world. "I will not lose you," he roared, stepping forward, forcing the darkness back with every ounce of his will. He felt like a dam, holding back a raging river, determined to withstand the flood. "Please," Jonathan cried, voice breaking. "Don't let them win. They'll twist you too." But the soldier didn't just hear the warning, he felt the truth weight in his chest, igniting purpose. He was between the living and the lost, on the brink of a reckoning. With one final, defiant surge, he turned his eyes back to the woman, the figure flickering in the light of the rift, and steadied himself. "Come back. You can fight this." At that moment, the soldier realized the real truth. The battle for their souls wouldn't just be about hard choices, but about wresting the light from the dark. But just as hope sparked anew, a sudden silence fell. The voices hushed, and then, from the depths, the rift unleashed a chilling laughter that echoed into eternity, a warning, a promise, something he couldn't quite grasp. What lay ahead? Would their fight empower them or doom them all? The rift writhed wickedly, alive with energy, and just beyond its grasp, something larger than life threatened to reveal itself. And the ground trembled as figures surged forward, caught between fear and longing, waiting for the soldier to make his next move. He steeled himself for the truth, knowing the revelations would change everything. Was it salvation or madness? In that charged moment, the answers hung over them, tantalizing and terrifying. What awaited them on the other side? The ground trembled one last time. Shadows danced wildly, and a dreadful whisper cut through the chilling atmosphere. The soldier, with the girl in his arms, stood at the edge of an unraveling reality. Could the weight of love be enough to push back the darkness threatening to engulf them all? With a resolve born from desperation, he clenched his jaw and stepped forward. "Listen to me," he shouted, voice heavy with urgency that felt like a weight trying to break free. "We are still here. We can push back." He glanced over at the woman, whose eyes seemed caught between two worlds, reflecting a struggle that mirrored his own. With every ounce of strength, he stretched his arm out. "Come back to us, please. You are stronger than it knows." Each word reverberated with love, reaching through the chaotic sea of desperation. Time seemed suspended, the eerie glow surrounding them lingering in the air like a fragile promise, the apparition of Jonathan twisted in heaving shadows, eyes pleading with urgency. "Fight against it, soldier. Don't let the past bind you." His voice trembled with fear, the remnants of friendship fighting through a darkness threatening to snap him back into the void. The soldier's heart clenched. "I'm right here, man. We will find a way to fight this. You're not alone." He pushed his will into those words, his chest tightening against the specters emerging with every breath, and in that moment, the woman shuddered. A flicker of recognition crossed her face as if she could hear the soldier's call cutting through the haze. Mommy," the child whimpered again, shivering. "I'm scared." As if wrapped in a protective cocoon, the soldier shielded her, tightening his grip. With a slow, anguished breath, he whispered just above the rising chorus of voices, "Remember the joys we've shared. Your laugh, I won't lose that." The glow around the rift pulsed, shadows wavering as if the light quaked at his words. Suddenly, the turmoil hit a peak, the urging shrieks from within the rift, the dark wailing intensified, and from the depths emerged tendrils erupting with hunger. "Join us!" The whispers echoed, fateful and beckoning. The woman took a step back, her eyes glazed but flickering with struggle. With fierce determination, the soldier stepped toward her, every thought in his heart lingering with love. "You are not lost. Please." And then, she hesitated. "No, no." The spirit of Jonathan cried out, almost collapsing. "Don't let her go." But the collective grasp of darkness pulled harder. Still, the flicker remained a tether vibrating with life, tethered to the soldier's voice. With fierce strength radiating from his core, he let desperation become action. "You can fight, love. Come fight back. We're coming home." A pulse, a moment that felt eternal, took root in the air. The rift's dance faltered, and time itself seemed to bend, focusing on that fragile glimmer that promised light. Against overwhelming pressure, she blinked, the shroud lifting for just a second. My little girl?" she murmured. And the soldier seized that moment. "Yeah, baby. Come on," he reaffirmed, his voice rising above the suffocating tension. "Let us fight for what we love." The woman swayed, and in that blink of unity, he willed her to remember the love, the joys they shared, the laughter over summer picnics, the warmth of embrace. He called her name more fiercely, more gratefully. "We're all here together. Fight for us." And suddenly, light erupted within the space. She closed her eyes tightly as if channeling the memories, and the bloom of light, bright, blinding, radiated through her. With a cathartic scream, she stepped back from the rift, shaking. I'm not only this." The shadows recoiled as if burned. But the soldiers swirled toward the rift, drawn with sinister determination to their fate, eyes widening with a hunger that made the soldier's breath catch. "It wants you," the stranger urged. "Don't let it take you." And there it was, the moment of clarity. The soldier turned back, raising his voice above the howling despair ringing in their ears. "You are greater than this darkness." In a glorious rush of reality, all around them, those who lingered near the rift began to break free, one step at a time, faces set against the pull of desperation. They rippled onward, drawn by the glow of shared hope, their own hearts igniting with the strength of acknowledgement. "Join us," they echoed, the intent shifting once more steady. And for the soldier, standing between absence and presence, the weight of his truth settled in, illuminating a path forward. "We have each other. And together, we are freedom." In that compelling moment, light shattered the facade as shadows provoked hope, uniting against that malevolent void. The creature screeched in agony, darkness fracturing. The soldier stood resolute, pure love igniting like wildfire, and in one final breath of resilience, shadows embraced, swelled, contorting with agony as faces from his memory howled. Then, with a resounding clap, the rift erupted in a fiery blaze of light, slicing through the folds of despair. As it collapsed, shadows split away, retreating like frightened animals into the night. "Let us go home." As the light washed over them, pulling them into an embrace, the soldier surged forward, joined in a primal connection. Each face united under the promise of hope, the bond unbreakable. He felt stronger than he ever had. In that triumph, the woman took her daughter's hand once more, eyes glistening with emotions long buried, but now unleashed. Freedom, love, it bridged the space between shadows, lighting the path ahead. And at McGuire Air Force Base, secrets that could not hold against the brilliance of a shared heart crumbled, revealing truth intertwined with courage. As their world righted into place, the soldier knew they had escaped the nightmare. They faced the dawn of a new life as far away from fear as they could be, and in that stillness, they breathed alive, together, ready for what came next. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to catch more extraordinary stories like this. Smash the like button now to feed that algorithm, so you don't miss the pulse of the next adventure. Flood the comments section with your thoughts. What did you think about the ending? Your reactions matter. And hurry, Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends. Let them know not to wait even one more second. Join the journey today.